For as long as I can remember, I have loved superheroes. I've watched so many shows and cartoons from both Marvel and DC. I've even gotten into some comic books themselves and gotten into other superhero comics outside of Marvel and DC. However, something that I've always wondered, especially when I was more younger, was the races of certain superheroes. I saw a lot of white or black superheroes. I haven't even seen that many Asian superheroes back then, and still not that much now. I've seen a push of LGBTQ plus representation in comics as of recent. They even retcon like previously straight or white or male characters to like add more diversity into their comics. Then just all of a sudden, Marvel started showing different obscure superheroes from comics. So here's my question for this podcast. Why is there not a lot of representation for certain minorities in comics? How good is the representation done for certain cultures in the first place? Are they genuine or just to check off another box in the list? Let's find out. Hey everyone, and welcome to my New York Times podcast. My name is Harvir, and I'm here to talk about the diversity in superhero comic books. Is there a lot of good representation, or is it just forced? Now, before we begin, let's start out with a little bit about myself. My parents were born and grew up in India, Punjab, and practiced Sikhism. I have grown up with the Sikhism ideal since I was born, and I've always been proud of it. So as a kid, when I've seen a lot of superheroes with black characters, white, male, female, or as of late, gay or transgender characters, I wondered, where are all the Indian characters? Is there one who's Indian or even possibly quite Sikh like my religion? Some Indian superheroes I've searched, I've never heard of, and I doubt anyone else has also. I couldn't find any comic book stores for characters like Parmanu, Nagaraj, and Super Indian, if you believe that name. So in the end, I am a bit disappointed that Indian representation just simply isn't very prevalent. But who knows, maybe I'm just looking at the wrong places. Enough about me. Let's look at more recent inclusive characters shown in movies today. As of recent, there's been more and more diverse characters. So let's dig into a few of these characters and decide how well done they are. First off, I would like to start off with Captain Marvel and She-Hulk. She-Hulk was actually an older character, first appearing in November 1979. These characters seem to represent strong, independent women. She is a great character in my opinion. She provides great comedy as a direct parallel to Hulk himself, who has powers as a curse when she feels better than ever considering the fact that she was unliked before she got her superpowers. But when I see her in the MCU, I cannot lie when I say that I am really disappointed. She is consistently unfunny, unlikable, and rude to everyone around her. It's clear from this show that Marvel just put her without any of the great traits she has in the comics in order to check off a list that they're inclusive. Captain Marvel, however, has always been an unlikable, stale, and boring character who was only first made for the movies. And the reason why her movie sold well was because it was between the moments of Endgame and Infinity War. However, bouncing off of this negativity, we have Shang-Chi, a likable hero in both the MCU and comics with a great movie. He first appeared in December 1973, and he is an Asian American superhero that gains powers from his magical rings that his father first found. Now, my favorite part of this character is his dynamic with his father, who is very impactful to his life story. I always found their dynamic to be so interesting and emotional, and it gives him more of a fascinating background, more of a fun character outside of the fact that he's an Asian superhero. Now, finally, we're gonna have to end things off with Miss Marvel. She is a character that I'm rather mixed on, if I would have to admit. She's a Pakistani Muslim who a lot of people say that the Muslim part of her is done accurately. I'll admit that I enjoyed the Muslim part of her character and her human activities. The drama she has with her family or certain crushes she may have at school is actually pretty fun to read and watch on both the show and comic books. However, the main reason I'm mixing this character and the main negative point is that I just cannot be entertained by the superhero aspect of her character. Her powers being able to shoot constructs out of hard light, which is basically just laser beams and maybe energy shields. And her ability to stretch her limbs is just simply boring to me. Her villains never interested me, and I never found her plotline with hero aspects to be that enjoyable. So, I can confidently say that unfortunately a lot of these new diverse characters are just not really well written. They are usually cardboard cutout characters that don't seem to stem outside of the surface level things you first see them, like a Muslim character or perhaps a gay character. And many of the new characters are simply just to fit an agenda and get brownie points from people without actually putting into work and making them compelling and interesting characters from older characters like Batman, Spider-Man, or Captain Marvel. Thank you all so much for listening to my New York Times podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.